Hey y'all, it's Sunny. If you're new to crochet or want to improve your skills, today's video is for you. This video will share essential tips for new crocheters to make it less intimidating to start. Don't forget to drop a comment and like this video if you're excited for these tips and to learn. Let's go ahead and get started. Tip 1. First things first, let's just start with the basics. Stitches. You want to start practicing with simple stitches such as single crochet, double crochet, and even a half double crochet. Personally, when I started my journey, I started with just a half double crochet because that's what I was taught. And I did that for years until I found out there were other types of stitches. Stitches are the building blocks of crochet. If you don't know how to do a simple stitch, you quite literally can't crochet anything. So start practicing. It's not going to look the best. Don't feel bad if they don't look good. Tip number 2, choosing the right yarn and hook is key. For your first projects, try using a medium weight yarn in a light color. That way it's easier to see your stitches. Down the line, you'll begin to learn what types of hooks and yarn you prefer. There's various types of hooks, most common ones being bamboo or wooden hooks, plastic, and metal. Whatever yarn you buy, you want to use the recommended hook size. So if you buy a yarn that suggests using a 5mm hook, use a 5mm hook. Essentially, this will ensure your yarn and your hook work look seamless. Tip 3, tension control. If stitches are the building blocks of crochet, then your tension would essentially be the cement in between them. When you're starting out, you do want to start getting an idea of what your tension is like. If you're just starting, I highly suggest you start taking note of your tension. You notice it to be more loose or tight. And essentially your tension is, well, just how do I explain this without saying tension? Your tension is basically like how tight or loose your stitches are. It is going to take practice for you to not only learn your type of tension, but also be able to control your tension. Tip 4, when starting out, use beginner-friendly patterns. No matter how pretty a project looks, if it's way too advanced for you, it's definitely not going to come out looking like that. If you go into the pattern and I would say if it has more than one thing that you don't know how to do, don't do it. Say a project is wanting you to use a bobble stitch for a certain part. You can look up how to do a bobble stitch, but everything else in the pattern you know how to do. That's relatively beginner friendly. Typically beginner friendly patterns only use single crochets, double crochets. They use the same stitch every time, and it's usually a stitch that you start off learning. So anything single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, very beginner friendly. And with increasing and decreasing, that's something that you can learn relatively easily. Those are the types of things you want to look at as far as trying to determine whether a pattern is beginner friendly if it doesn't state that it's beginner friendly. But these beginner friendly patterns will provide you with guides and diagrams that makes it so much easier to learn throughout your process. Tip number 5, please count your stitches. I made that mistake multiple times. Blankets came out looking like trash. So I'll be at the beginning of a round and I'll already forget what stitch I'm on. Use a stitch marker and count your stitches. Now you don't have to go out and buy stitch markers, although I highly suggest them. You can use a simple piece of yarn, something this long or max this long. You don't want it to be too long so it doesn't get tangled. But you can use a piece of yarn as a stitch marker. But counting your stitches, especially when using a pattern, will help you figure out where you are in said pattern, particularly using stitch markers, especially if you're working in the round. Tip number 6, embrace your mistakes as you go throughout your journey. Mistakes happen, and that's okay. We've all made mistakes in our journey with crocheting. Don't be discouraged by them, embrace them, and take them as chances to learn. If you need to undo the section, even if you got to take out a full day's worth of work, undo it and redo it. Once you do that, you'll notice improvement. Over time, it is going to take time. Again, practice doesn't make perfect, but it does equal progress. Tip 7, please take breaks. Crocheting can and will strain your wrists and your fingers. Take breaks, stretch, get up and move around, stretch out your hands. Depending on how often I've been crocheting within the week, I take a break every 45 minutes to an hour because that's when I start to notice my hands feel like they're cramping. Just basic stretches, rolling your wrists out, stretching out your fingers. You can crack your fingers. I know people say that's a bad thing to do, but I do it all the time. To look up hand stretches, wrist stretches. I personally just do whatever feels good, that feels like it's properly stretching. But just do whatever feels good. You won't realize how much pressure is in a certain area until you actually go and stretch it. It will help you over the long run to avoid injuries, keep your hands in nice, good health. That way, if you need to fuck somebody up, you can. Tip number 8. 8? Yeah, 8. Don't be afraid to use your online resources. There is so much information, free, might I add, online in regards to crochet. TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, just Google in general. Instagram also. A lot of the patterns that I've used are on Instagram. So much free information online. Take advantage of that free information. Not even just patterns, you can learn stitches, techniques, tips like today's video. Tip number 9. 9. Tip number 9. Experiment with different yarns and hooks. Don't be afraid to experiment with different yarn textures and hook types. It's going to help you further down the line to figure out what you prefer using, what works best for your hand. Some would argue that it's not fun. Personally, I like experimenting, but it's fun. A fun way to help you figure out what style and projects suit you the best. And finally, tip number 10. Last but not least, have patience. Just take your time and enjoy your journey. Crocheting is something that takes time to master. I am nowhere near a master. In your journey, celebrate every new stitch, every old stitch, every project, every discovery that you didn't think you would make. And that wraps up our essential tips for beginner crocheters. Remember, with every stitch and project, it equals progress. Stay tuned for tutorials and more tip videos like this, and as well more crochet reviews. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Like this video if you like this video, and comment below if there's any struggles that you're still having with crochet that I didn't address in this video, or if any of these tips have helped you. All right, guys, happy hooking, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.